The Grand Meridian looks like money learned how to hang from ceilings. Crystal chandeliers drip light over $2,000 suits and rented confidence. Waiters move through the ballroom with champagne and tiny food nobody remembers later. Summit Ridge Financial's logo glows on the big screens, blue and clean and respectable. I'm standing by the bar in a black suit that actually fits, watching my wife make the room hers. Lauren's in navy, sharp, simple, nothing loud. She laughs with a client, nods at a junior analyst, leans in when the CFO talks. Mid-30s, one of the youngest senior analysts in the firm, and tonight she carries herself like she finally believes she belongs here. I like seeing that. I built my own cybersecurity company from a crappy one-bedroom apartment. I know the weight of walking into a room and feeling like you earned your place. Daniel, right? A voice cuts in. I turn. Brad Lawson, mid-40s, suit tailored within an inch of its life, tan that doesn't come from missing sunblock. His handshake is firm, but there's that extra squeeze, like he's testing something. Yeah, I say. Good to meet you. I've heard about you, he says, smiling too wide. Lauren talks. Cybersecurity guy. Smart move going solo these days. He says it like he's already decided what I am. Supporting role, side character. I just nod. Lauren comes over, touches my arm. Brad, this is my husband, Daniel. Daniel, this is Brad Lawson, Regional VP. Your wife's a star, Brad says, eyes sliding to her just a little too long. Promotion well-deserved. Lauren's smile tightens half a millimeter. Most people wouldn't catch it. I do. A server passes with a tray. Lauren excuses herself for the restroom. My phone buzzes in my pocket. Server alert from a client. Nothing urgent, but enough to justify stepping out. I move into the hallway, quieter, carpet-swallowing sound. I'm pulling up the alert when I hear it. Lauren's voice. Not her work voice. Higher. Stiff. Brad, stop. I said no. I round the corner. He's got one arm braced on the wall beside her head, blocking her in. The other is at her waist, fingers pressing into fabric that's supposed to be nobody's territory but hers and mine. His breath smells like expensive whiskey and entitlement. You owe me, Lauren, he slurs low. You don't get that promotion without me. You know how this works. Her eyes flick to me. Relief, fear, anger all at once. Get your hands off my wife, I say. My voice comes out flat. No shout, no tremor. Just ice. Brad's head turns slowly, like he's annoyed that someone interrupted his private moment. His expression shifts, surprise, irritation, then that smug, bored confidence I've seen on too many men who think HR is their personal shield. Daniel, he says like we're sharing a joke. He lets his hand slide off her waist, but doesn't move his arm from the wall. Let's not make a scene. These hallways have ears. The only thing they heard, I say, is you putting your hands where they don't belong. He smirks. Look, I'm her boss. We were just talking. Misunderstandings happen. You go cyber guys never understand how careers are built. This is a relationship business. Lauren steps away from the wall, coming to stand beside me. I feel her shaking. I stay still. Brad leans in a fraction. Voice drops. Here's how this really works, Daniel. My numbers keep this place happy. The board loves me. Coleman trusts me. You try to make noise tonight, it doesn't hurt me. It hurts her. And you don't want that. I hold his gaze. Brown eyes, clear, steady. The kind of eyes that have never seen a real consequence in their life. In that quiet space between his words and my answer, I talk to you. The invisible listener riding along in my head. That's the moment I decide something simple and permanent. Brad Lawson's bulletproof career ends tonight. If I let myself swing on him, I'd feel good for about 3 seconds. That's what I tell myself walking back toward the ballroom. Lauren's hand locked in mine, knuckles white. 3 seconds of satisfaction, years of fallout. Men like Brad don't go down because somebody finally punches them. They go down when their own habits turn into a noose. We slip into a quiet corner behind a pillar, half hidden from the main floor. The band's playing something smooth and forgettable. Glasses clink. Laughter rolls over us in waves that don't reach our table. Lauren's shaking hard now, breathing too fast. I sit close, not crowding her, just a solid presence. Hey, I say low. Look at me. She does. Eyes wet but not broken. This the first time? Ask. Her jaw tightens. No. The word hangs there like a dropped weight. She tells me about off-color jokes in one-on-one. Hands brushing lower back by accident. Standing too close in elevators. Comments about dresses. Invitations to private debriefs in his hotel suite on business trips she never accepted. And I'm not the only one, she adds. There were rumors. Rachel Chun. She left last year. Smart, sharp, just gone. Melissa too. Everyone said they weren't a fit culturally. My anger stops being a fire and turns into a shape. Something with edges. Problem to solve. Why didn't anyone report him? Ask. She laughs once, bitter. You think HR doesn't know? Brad brings in big clients. Every quarter he over-delivers. The board loves him. Complaints disappear. People transfer or quit. He stays. There it is. The real enemy isn't just a man. It's the system that props him up. Something in my head flips. This isn't about defending my pride. This is about removing a predator who thinks the rules are written for him. I stand. Stay here. Don't talk to him. Don't leave alone. If you need the restroom, you call me. Got it. She nods, gripping my hand once like a promise. Then I go to work. I move through the gala like I'm networking, smiling, shaking hands, letting people talk. But I'm not listening for small talk. I'm listening for leverage. Marcus from Risk finds me by the bar, already halfway into a complaint. Man, IT has been brutal this quarter, he groans. VPN drops every 10 minutes. Half the team just uses hotel Wi-Fi to get stuff done on trips. Cloud setup that bad? Ask. He rolls his eyes. Don't get me started. HR's on some third-party cloud platform. Half the access controls are a joke. Brad still has legacy permissions from when he helped with restructuring. Guy can see everything. Interesting. Later, I catch a couple of mid-level managers talking near the dessert table. CFO short list is basically done, one says. It's Brad's to lose. Yeah, Coleman loves him, the other replies. After that ethics scandal at his last firm, he's obsessed with clean numbers and growth. Brad delivers both. So the CEO, Richard Coleman, is publicly married to the word ethics. His golden boy is a walking HR time bomb. That's not loyalty. That's a risk he doesn't know he's carrying. I walk the room, collecting details, faces, and roles. It feels like setting up a penetration test, but with people instead of networks. You look for weak points, bad habits, old doors nobody bothered to lock. The chessboard starts to form in my head. Brad thinks he's the king. He's not. He's a piece the real king is betting on. My job now is simple. Show the board that their favorite piece is rotten, and make sure when it falls, it does it in front of everyone. The Grand Meridian's business center is 3 floors down from the noise. Neutral carpet, soft lighting, 3 computers nobody uses unless they're desperate. Perfect place to disappear. I sit at a corner desk, open my laptop, and connect to the hotel Wi-Fi. Same network every executive in this building has been hopping on all night without thinking twice. That's the thing about corporate people at events. They drink, they relax, and they forget the internet is still a street with strangers on it. I talk to you like you're sitting beside me. This isn't a movie. There's no neon code raining down the screen. It's just patterns and laziness. People check work email on unsecured networks. They reuse bad passwords. They leave doors cracked and assume no one will bother to push. I map the traffic on the guest network, watching devices light up. Laptops, tablets, phones. It doesn't take long to spot them, the Summit Ridge devices. Same domain, same mail server, same blind trust. Then I see his, Brad Lawson, logged into his work email from his phone, on public Wi-Fi, in a hotel full of strangers and competitors. Of course he is. I don't need to break into anything new. I just slide into the stream he's already opened and let his own session carry me. No fireworks, no alarms, Just me writing his bad habits straight into his inbox. His emails load. The first thing I feel isn't triumph. It's my stomach dropping. Flirty comments to subordinates. Jokes about rating women on his team. Messages that start with "you're a star on my team" and drift into "you owe me dinner," and then "you know how this works." Then I see a folder that shouldn't be there. HR complaints. I open it. Formal harassment complaints. Names I recognize from Lauren's stories: Rachel Chun, Melissa Chun, Patricia Gomez. All marked resolved. The resolutions read like cover stories. Transfers, mutual separations, restructuring, different women, same pattern. He survives. They vanish. My hands shake as I pull everything down. Emails, complaints, calendar invites, expense reports. Then I see today's date. An email to a buddy. Breaking in the new senior analyst tonight. They always come around when their career's on the line. That's Lauren. That's when it stops being about my anger and turns into something bigger. This isn't revenge anymore. It's a mission. I've taken down ransomware crews with less evidence than what I have on Brad now. Back in the business center, I organize it like I'd prepare for court, not a fistfight. Complaints in chronological order. Screenshots of emails, full headers visible. Metadata intact. Calendar entries lined up with career talks that somehow always happen after 9 p.m. Expense reports tied to those meetings, dinners, drinks, hotel bar tabs. I strip out anything that could identify victims beyond what's necessary. Faces aren't the point. His pattern is. The document I build is clean and brutal. No adjectives. No drama. Just dates, actions, and his own words stacked like bricks. Then I opened a fresh secure email account. I draft one message and address it to everyone who matters. The board, HR leadership, internal legal, and a short list of external employment law firms that live off cases like this. I attach the dossier but don't hit send. Men like Brad survive quiet reports and backroom deals. What they don't survive is daylight. Upstairs, earlier tonight, I noticed the AV setup. Hotel screens with Summit Ridge's logo rotating, hashtag bouncing in the corner. There was a young tech at the booth, bored, more interested in his phone than his laptop. His bag sat open, cables spilling out. When he stepped away, I took a walk. Behind one of the big floor screens, there's a tidy little networking port. I plugged in a tiny device from my own bag, a pocket-sized relay I sometimes use for on-site tests. It's sitting there now, patient, tied into the same line feeding those screens. All it needs is my signal. I finished the dossier. Save. Encrypt. My thumb hovers over send. But that's not the trigger that matters most. I head back to the ballroom. Brad is at the bar again, leaning too close to another young woman. Lauren's at a table, shredding a cocktail napkin into confetti. Richard Coleman is checking his watch as staff start nudging people toward their seats. Closing remarks. Promotion announcements. My window. I walk the room, plotting sight lines to the screens and the stage, feeling my heartbeat settle into something steady. I tell you this straight. I'm about to do something that looks like a movie stunt. The difference is every pixel they're about to see will be real. The lights dim, and the room forgets how to breathe. People drift back to their tables, half drunk, half bored, ready to clap for people they don't care about. The band fades out. Silverware settles. On the big screens, the Summit Ridge logo pulses over a slideshow of smiling employees. I stand near Lauren's table, one hand on the back of her chair, the other in my pocket around my phone. My heart's pounding, but my thoughts are sharp. This isn't nerves. This is a countdown. Richard Coleman walks up to the mic. Early 60s, good suit, careful posture. Man who's rebuilt a career once already and doesn't plan to do it again. Tonight, he says, voice smooth from practice, we celebrate not just our financial performance, but our culture, our integrity. Our people are our greatest asset. I can't help the small smile that hits my mouth at that word. Integrity. I glance at the bar. Brad's there, laughing too loud at something a junior associate said. Drink in hand. He's not even pretending to be humble. Why would he? In his head, this is his coronation. Coleman's speech rolls on. Numbers. Growth. Market share. The room claps at the right spots. Lauren sits rigid beside me, eyes on the tablecloth, fingers locked together so tight her knuckles are white. And of course, Coleman says, none of this would be possible without exceptional leadership. There is one individual in particular. My thumb moves. The signal goes out. The Summit Ridge logo blinks once, then disappears from every screen. For half a second, nothing. Then white text on a black background fills the displays. Brad Lawson, confidential investigation report. Pattern of sexual harassment. Silence hits the room like a dropped elevator. The only sounds are the scrape of a chair and someone's fork sliding off a plate and clattering onto the floor. Coleman turns, actually stunned, staring at the nearest screen. His mic squeals as it brushes his jacket. He didn't approve these slides. You can see the real land. The next slide appears. A 5-year timeline. Complaints marked by year and quarter. Names redacted. Short descriptors. Unwanted contact. Retaliation after reporting. Pressure tied to promotion. Murmurs start. Heads angle toward Brad. Another slide. Screenshots of emails. His words in black and white, no context needed. New analyst is fresh. Might need some extra coaching. She knows I control her future. She'll come around. They always do when their career's on the line. Someone whispers, "Oh my God." The buried HR complaints come next. Blurred complainant names, but visible tags. Subject, Lawson, B. Status, resolved. Outcomes, transfer, termination during restructuring, mutual separation. Then the calendar entries. Late night career talks. Hotel bars. Office, 9:30 p.m. Doors locked. Finally, the email from this afternoon, the one that put Lauren's name into his pattern without needing to say it. Backing the sexy new senior analyst into a corner tonight. They always come around when their career's on the line. Lauren gasps, hand flying to her mouth. I put my hand briefly on her shoulder. Solid. Here. Not moving. Brad stands so fast his chair almost tips. This is bullshit, he shouts. This is fake. Somebody hacked my account. There it is. The script. Blame the hacker, not the habits. I step away from the table and into the open space between him and the stage. Actually, I say, voice carrying more than I expect in the stunned room, I'm a cybersecurity consultant, and I can verify every log, every header, every access trail tied to those emails. Hundreds of eyes swing to me. My name is Daniel Carter. I continue. You don't know me. You should know this. I nod toward Brad. Targeted my wife tonight in a hallway he thought no one would see. He's been doing it to women here for years. The only difference tonight is the evidence isn't buried in HR folders anymore. Brad's face drains, then flushes. You hacked me. This is illegal. I'll have you arrested. You did this to yourself, I say. You brought confidential HR files onto unsecured networks. You kept copies of complaints against you. You wrote every word on those screens. I just refused to look away. For a heartbeat, it's just me, him, and the weight of the room. Then a chair scrapes. A woman stands near the back. Dark hair, early 40s, calm face. My name is Patricia Gomez, she says, loud and clear. He harassed me. I filed a complaint. It was resolved by moving me to a different division and freezing my career. Another woman stands. Melissa Chin. Same story. Another. Erica. And then, Rachel Chun. A voice says from the far corner. Heads whip around. She must have come as someone's guest. Or maybe she stayed connected to people here. She's standing straight, shoulders back. He did it to me too, Rachel says. I left because HR made it clear that was easier than fighting him. For women, for different parts of the room, the sound in the ballroom changes. It's not noisy now. It's anger, shock, realization. People pulling away from Brad like he's radioactive. Coleman recovers enough to speak into his mic. Voice tight. Security, he says. Brad, to my office. Now. 2 security staff move toward him. He jerks back, eyes wild. then locks onto me over the sea of faces. "You're dead," he mouths. I hold his stare and shape the words back, slow and precise. "No," I said. "Your career is. The real damage never happens in ballrooms. It happens in small rooms with closed doors." Ellen Harper, board chair, has one of those faces that never looks surprised in public. Right now, in a side conference room off the ballroom, she just looks tired. She sits at the head of the table. To her right, Richard Coleman. To her left, two board members I've only seen in glossy reports. Legal pads. Water glasses nobody touches. The door shut. Lauren and I sit across from them. I take the chair slightly angled toward the door, habit. Ellen folds her hands. "Mr. Carter, Mrs. Carter. What happened out there was..." She searches for a word and settles on explosive. "That was the point," I say. She doesn't like that, but she moves on. "Let me be clear, what Brad did, if everything you've shown is accurate, is reprehensible. But your methods, intercepting confidential communications, taking over our presentation system, you've created a legal nightmare." There it is. The system's reflex. Not "this is wrong. This is messy." I keep my voice even. "I didn't break into anything that wasn't already wide open. Your VP accessed confidential HR material on a personal device over unsecured Wi-Fi. He used terrible passwords. Any half-competent attacker could have done what I did. The only difference is, I'm not trying to extort you. I'm handing you a mirror." Coleman leans forward, jaw tight. "Are you admitting to hacking our systems?" "I'm admitting," I say, "to observing traffic he put on public networks on hardware he controlled. If your own audit team looked, they'd call him a massive liability. You don't have a rogue hacker problem. You have a senior executive who treats security and ethics like suggestions." I put my laptop on the table, spin it around. Cached autofill data. Screenshots of his personal email pulling HR files. Logs of him using his advisory role to access complaints that named him. "This is how he buried them," I say. "You didn't just have a predator. You gave him the tools to clean up after himself." Lauren speaks for the first time, voice steady. "I don't want hush money," she says. "I want action. Brad terminated. Public acknowledgement that the company failed to protect its people. Real outreach to every woman he harmed. An independent hotline. Protection for anyone who comes forward now, including me. In writing." The room goes quiet. Ellen studies her like she's reassessing an asset. Finally, Ellen nods once. "Brad is suspended effective immediately pending formal termination. We will retain external counsel, launch a full investigation, and you have my word, Mrs. Carter, we will not retaliate against you or anyone else who speaks up. We'll put it in writing." She turns to me. "And you, Mr. Carter, you didn't just expose Brad. You exposed gaps in our systems that terrify me. We need help cleaning this up. I'm prepared to offer your firm a contract to audit our security and ethics processes." I let a beat pass. "I'll do it," I say, "if two conditions are met. 1, my autonomy is absolute. No interference, no spin. I report findings directly to you, not to Brad's buddies. 2, my wife's career is untouchable. No quiet sidelining. No stalled promotions because she made trouble." Ellen glances at Coleman. He looks like he swallowed a stapler, but he nods. "Agreed," she says. I sit back. This, I tell you silently, is what righteous anger looks like when you aim it at the structure instead of just the man. A few weeks later, the war is quieter, but it's still going. I'm in my home office, blue light off the monitors cutting through the afternoon dim. Lauren leans in the doorway with a mug of tea, hair up, blouse half untucked from a long day. I've got a financial news site open. Summit Ridge faces harassment reckoning after gala incident. The headline reads, the article says 7 more women called the new independent ethics hotline in the days after the gala. Same pattern, same pressure, same retaliation. Summit Ridge has already settled multiple cases, rumored in upper 8 figures. HR leadership is out. They've brought in new people, new policies, mandatory harassment training, external ombudsman, proper whistleblower protections. For once, the word reform doesn't feel like PR. Scroll, Lauren says. I do. There's a smaller piece linked underneath. Former executive charged. It says. Brad's name is right there. Charges tied to abusing access to confidential HR files, altering records, obstructing investigations. He didn't just cross a moral line. He crossed legal ones. Lauren sighs. Do you ever think we went too far? I sit back, think about the night, the hijacked screens, the shock, the chaos, the way the whole building seemed to tilt for a few minutes. I've thought about it, I admit, a lot. If the evidence wasn't airtight, I wouldn't have moved. If it was just rumor and anger, I'd have walked away. But it wasn't. He wrote his own rope. I just pulled. She's quiet for a moment, then nods. My phone lights up. Ellen. I put it on speaker. The investigation dug deeper than we expected, she says without preamble. Brad wasn't the only problem. 2 more executives are on leave. Patterns we should have seen years ago. A pause. We saw numbers and ignored everything else. Your stunt forced our hand. Then she gets to the point. A permanent part-time role, Director of Corporate Ethics and Security. I report only to her. Full autonomy. I want unrestricted access, I say. Systems, complaints, culture audits, and real whistleblower protection. Not just language in a policy doc. Teeth. Done, she says. Lauren's watching me. Eyes softer than they've been in weeks. Looks like you've got a new job, she says. Yeah, I answered. This time, I'm not just securing servers. She smiles like she can finally see past the blast radius. Months pass, and the story stops being about one man and starts being about an industry nervous enough to listen. Summit Ridge, somehow, is now a case study. Articles talk about transformative reforms and best-in-class whistleblower protections. Funny how fast a company can grow a conscience when its dirty laundry gets aired on 40-foot screens. My life shifts with it. Less midnight server triage, more boardroom strategy. Fewer frantic calls from panicked IT managers. More calm conversations with directors who finally understand that culture is a security layer, not a slide in an onboarding deck. I sit in rooms with people who used to roll their eyes at soft issues and tell them straight. Your culture is a vulnerability. Predators are insiders with elevated access. Ignore them, and they'll cost you more than any external breach. They listen now. Other firms start calling. Not to bury problems, at least not the ones worth saving. They call because they don't want to be the next Summit Ridge. Fear is a crude motivator, but it's a start. One afternoon, an email pings to my personal inbox. Subject line, you probably don't remember me, but Rachel Chin. She tells me she landed at a competitor firm. Better pay, better title. In the interview, she told the full truth about why she left Summit Ridge. Instead of punishing her, they said they'd followed the story and respected her for walking away. She thanks us, not in some dramatic, tearful way. Just a clean, simple line. You made it possible for me to be honest and still move forward. I call Lauren over. She reads over my shoulder, shoulders dropping, tension she's been carrying since the gala finally slipping. This, I tell you, watching her breathe easier, is what justice looks like when it works. Not just one man falling. Doors opening for the people he tried to break. We end where all of this began and ended at the same time, at home. Late evening. City lights in the distance. Sky bleeding from gold to dark. Lauren and I sit on the back patio, 2 glasses of wine between us, the kind of quiet that doesn't feel heavy anymore. She watches the skyline for a while before she asks for it. Do you think we really changed anything? She says. Or did we just take out one guy in a system that's still broken? I don't answer quick. I think about Brad, about his face when the screens turned. I think about Patricia, Rachel, the others. I think about new policies, new roles, and the fact that somewhere, some other executive is watching all this and deciding maybe, just maybe, he's not as untouchable as he thought. We did both, I say finally. We ended his ability to hurt anyone else in our world. And we proved something simple: rumors can be ignored. Hard evidence. dragged into the light, can't. She turns to look at me. And the way you did it? You're still okay with that? Justice isn't neat, I say. It doesn't always show up in the right format, signed on letterhead. Sometimes it needs someone willing to kick down doors that should have been opened years ago. We raise our glasses. To justice, she says. To accountability, I add. The city hums on. Somewhere out there, another Brad is getting nervous. Good. I don't lie to you and call myself a hero. I sleep fine at night, but not because I think I'm some avenging angel. I sleep fine because I'm just a husband who's very good with computers, and I refuse to let anyone lay a hand on my wife without consequences. The city's winding down when I finally let myself slow. We're on the back patio. Just me, Lauren, and the kind of quiet you don't notice until your life stops sounding like sirens and notifications. The skyline's a strip of silver and orange, bleeding into dark. 2 glasses of wine between us, untouched more than they're sipped. She watches the horizon for a long time before she says anything. Do you think we actually changed anything? She asks. Or did we just blow up one bad guy in a machine that's still broken? I don't give her a pretty answer. I give her the one I've been circling for weeks. We did both, I say. We took him off the board. And we proved something simple. People can ignore rumors, they can ignore whispers, they can even ignore complaints. What they can't ignore is evidence big enough to fill a wall. She turns to look at me. And you're okay with how you did it? The screens, the spectacle, all of it. Justice isn't neat, I tell her. It doesn't always show up in a memo with the right signatures. Sometimes it needs someone to kick in a door that should have been opened 10 years ago. She lets that sit, then nods. We raise our glasses. To justice, she says. To accountability, I answer. We drink. The city hums on, unaware of the one predator who won't be walking into another lobby with a fresh title and a clean reputation. I don't lie to you and call myself a hero. I don't replay that night wondering if I was too dramatic. When I think about it, I picture Patricia, Rachel, the others, sleeping better because one man's bulletproof reputation finally shattered. In the end, that's all I am. A husband who's very good with computers, and who refused to let anyone lay a hand on his wife without consequences.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.